Depression, a word that brings to mind darkness, emptiness, a void where joy once lived. You feel it, don't you? That weight on your chest when you wake up in the morning, wondering how you'll find the strength to face another day. That sense that the world has lost its color, that food has lost its taste, that music has lost its melody. But listen to me now, this darkness you're feeling is not the end of your story. You see, in the East, they have a wonderful idea. They believe that the universe works in cycles. Day follows night, follows day, follows night. And just as you can't have mountains without valleys, you can't have light without dark. This isn't just pretty talk. It's the very nature of reality. When you're caught in depression's grip, it feels like you've fallen into a hole with no bottom, like you're drowning in an ocean with no shore. But what if I told you that this darkness is as much a part of being human as breathing? What if I told you that your pain isn't a mistake or a punishment, but simply one note in the grand symphony of your existence? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying your suffering isn't real. It is terribly, awfully real. But reality has many faces, many dimensions. And the reality of your suffering is only one face of a much larger truth. Here's something to consider. When you touch a hot stove, pain shoots through your hand. That pain is unpleasant, yes, but it's also information. It's your body's way of saying, hey, this isn't good for us. In a similar way, depression can be information. It might be telling you that something in your life needs to change, that you've been ignoring important truths, that you've been living in a way that doesn't align with your deepest values. Depression often comes when we feel disconnected from others, from nature, from our own bodies, from the present moment. We live in a society that encourages this disconnection. We're told to work hard, to achieve, to climb ladders and build walls. We're taught to compare ourselves to others, to always want more, to never be satisfied with what we have. And then we wonder why we feel empty inside. But you are not separate from the world. You are the world. The same energy that flows through rivers and stars flows through you. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. You are not a stranger here. You are a child of this universe. When you look at the night sky, those stars you see shining brightly, they're actually millions of years in the past. The light has taken that long to reach your eyes. In the same way, the thoughts in your mind that tell you you're worthless, that there's no hope, that things will never get better, they're echoes from the past. They're old patterns, old wounds speaking. They are not the truth of who you are. The truth is, you are vastness disguised as a person. You are the universe experiencing itself through human form. And yes, sometimes that experience includes suffering, but it also includes joy, wonder, love, connection, beauty. I want to let you in on a secret. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When depression has you in its grip, your mind becomes a prison. It tells you stories about who you are and what your life means. And these stories can feel so real, so solid. But they are just stories. They're not the whole truth. The whole truth is much bigger, much wilder, much more mysterious than any story your mind can tell. The whole truth includes the darkness and the light, the joy and the pain, the peaks and the valleys of human experience. Here's what's interesting about human consciousness. We can observe our own thoughts. You can watch your mind spinning tales of doom and gloom, and know that you are not those thoughts. You are the awareness watching the thoughts. And this awareness is vast, clear, and untouched by depression's darkness. This doesn't mean you should ignore your thoughts or push them away. That only gives them more power. Instead, try watching them with gentle curiosity. Ah, there's that thought again. The one that says, I'm a failure. How interesting. When you create this small space between yourself and your thoughts, something magical happens. You begin to see that you have choices. You see, most of us are caught in patterns we don't even know exist. We react to life in ways we learned long ago, often in childhood. These patterns might have helped us survive difficult situations back then, but now they're causing us pain. Depression can be a sign that these old patterns no longer serve us. Changing these patterns isn't easy. It's like trying to redirect a river that's been flowing one way for years. But it is possible. It begins with awareness, noticing the patterns without judgment. Then with great gentleness, you can begin to make different choices, to create new paths for the river to flow. One of the cruelest aspects of depression is how it isolates us. It whispers that we're alone, that no one could possibly understand, that we're uniquely broken. This is another story that isn't true. The human experience includes suffering for everyone, though it takes different forms. Your pain connects you to every other human being who has ever lived. It's part of our shared humanity. When you're depressed, reaching out to others can feel impossible, but connection is healing. It reminds us that we're not alone, that we belong to something larger than ourselves. This doesn't mean you need to attend a party or make small talk. Sometimes connection means sitting quietly with someone who cares about you. Sometimes it means petting a dog or watching birds at a feeder. Sometimes it means feeling the earth beneath your feet as you walk in a garden. The natural world has remarkable healing power. Have you ever noticed how your breathing changes when you step into a forest or gaze at the ocean? There's a rhythm to the natural world that can help reset our own internal rhythms when they've gone askew. The Japanese call it forest bathing, simply being present with trees, with no goal beyond presence itself. Presence is powerful medicine for the depressed mind, which tends to dwell in the past or fear the future. Depression thrives when we're caught in regrets about what was or anxiety about what might be. But life only ever happens now, in this moment. Try this. Bring your attention to your breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice the sensations in your chest and belly as you breathe. Just for this moment, let go of everything else. You don't need to fix your life right now. You don't need to solve all your problems. Just breathe. Just be. In this simple act of being present, you might find a small oasis of peace. It might last only a few seconds before the mind jumps back in with its worries and fears. That's okay. Notice when you've drifted away, and gently bring your attention back to the present moment. Each time you do this, you're strengthening a muscle of awareness that depression has weakened. Now, there's something important we need to talk about. Sometimes depression isn't just a spiritual or emotional issue. Sometimes it's also a matter of brain chemistry, of hormones, of physical systems that have gone out of balance. If your depression is severe, if you're thinking about harming yourself, please seek professional help. There's no shame in taking medication if you need it, any more than there's shame in taking insulin for diabetes. These are tools that can help you find your way back to balance. But whether or not you need medication, remember that healing from depression is a holistic journey. It involves your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your relationships, your lifestyle. Small changes can make a big difference over time. Moving your body, even if it's just a short walk, eating foods that nourish you, getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning to help regulate your circadian rhythms, limiting alcohol and caffeine, which can worsen mood swings. These aren't magic cures, but they're ways of caring for the vessel that carries your consciousness through this world. There's a beautiful concept in Japanese aesthetics called wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. When you're depressed, it can feel like you're broken beyond repair. But what if those broken places are actually where the light gets in? What if your wounds, your struggles, your pain are not flaws to be fixed but openings to deeper wisdom, greater compassion, more authentic living? Many of the world's wisdom traditions suggest that suffering can be transformative if we approach it with the right attitude. This doesn't mean seeking out suffering or glorifying it. It means being willing to learn from it, to let it crack open our hearts and minds, to let it teach us what we need to know. What might your depression be trying to teach you? Perhaps it's showing you where you've been living according to others' expectations rather than your own truth. Perhaps it's highlighting ways you've been unkind to yourself, demanding perfection, rejecting your own humanity. Perhaps it's pointing to unhealed wounds from the past that need gentle attention. Perhaps it's calling you toward a more meaningful way of living, a way that honors your unique gifts and deepest values. These are questions only you can answer, but asking them with an open heart can begin to transform your relationship with depression. Instead of seeing it purely as an enemy to be defeated, you might come to see it as a difficult but important teacher. One of the most damaging myths in our culture is the idea that we should always be happy. Life includes the full spectrum of emotions, and all of them have value. Sadness helps us process loss. Fear alerts us to potential danger. Anger shows us where boundaries have been crossed. Even depression in its own way can be trying to tell us something important. This doesn't mean we should wallow in negative emotions or glorify suffering. It means we can approach all our emotions with curiosity rather than judgment. What is this feeling trying to tell me? What does it need from me right now? When we listen to our emotions this way, they tend to move through us more freely, rather than getting stuck. Depression often involves a lot of resistance, fighting against reality, against our emotions, against ourselves. There's a saying that what we resist persists. When we struggle against depression, telling ourselves we shouldn't feel this way, that something is wrong with us, that we need to hurry up and get better, we actually give it more power. What if instead you could meet your depression with radical acceptance? Not resignation, not giving up, but a clear-eyed recognition of what is true in this moment. Yes, I am feeling depressed right now. Yes, this is difficult. Yes, this is part of my experience right now. From this place of acceptance, change becomes possible. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer using all your energy to fight reality. You can redirect that energy towards small, kind actions that support your healing. Remember, too, that depression distorts perception. When you're in its grip, your mind becomes like a funhouse mirror, warping everything you see. The world looks bleaker, the future more hopeless, yourself more worthless than is actually the case. This distortion feels absolutely real while you're experiencing it, but it is not an accurate reflection of reality. This is why it can be so helpful to have trusted others in your life who can gently reflect back to you a more accurate picture when depression has distorted your vision. A friend, a therapist, a support group. These can be like anchors when you're adrift in depression's sea, reminding you of truths you can't currently see. And speaking of truth, here's one that depression often hides from us. Nothing is permanent. Not joy, not sorrow, not success, not failure, not depression. Everything in this life is in constant flux. The only certainty is change. This truth can be both frightening and liberating. When things are going well, we want them to last forever, and they won't. But when things are painful, as in depression, we can take solace in knowing that this too shall pass. Not because we wish it away or force it to change, but because that is the nature of all phenomena. They arise, they last for a time, and then they fade. Looking at your depression this way doesn't mean passively waiting for it to lift. It means working skillfully with it while it's present, neither identifying with it completely nor rejecting it outright. It means seeing it as a season you're moving through, not a permanent state of being. Just as farmers work differently with their land in different seasons, planting in spring, harvesting in fall, you can learn to work differently with your mind and heart in different emotional seasons. Depression might be a time for pulling inward, for rest, for re-evaluation. It might be a time for shedding what no longer serves you, like trees shedding leaves in autumn. It might be a time for lying fallow, like fields in winter, gathering strength for new growth. This perspective doesn't make depression easy, but it can make it more bearable. It gives meaning to your suffering, which humans desperately need. We can endure almost anything if we can find meaning in it. Another truth that depression obscures is the power of small actions. When you're depressed, everything can feel overwhelming. The thought of changing your life, finding happiness, becoming whole, these can seem like impossibly distant goals. But healing happens one tiny step at a time. Can you drink a glass of water today? Can you step outside and feel the sun on your face for 5 minutes? Can you send a text to someone who cares about you? Can you put on clean clothes? These small actions might seem insignificant, but they're not. They're acts of self-care, of self-respect, of choosing life even when it's difficult, and they add up over time. One of the most insidious aspects of depression is the way it turns us against ourselves. The internal critic becomes deafening, berating us for every perceived flaw and failure. This voice can be so convincing, so familiar, that we mistake it for truth. But it's not truth. It's just a pattern of thinking you've learned, and patterns can be changed. What would it be like to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a good friend who was suffering? What would it be like to speak to yourself with encouragement rather than criticism? What would it be like to hold your pain with gentle hands rather than trying to push it away? This self-compassion isn't self-indulgence or letting yourself off the hook. It's creating the emotional conditions where healing becomes possible. Plants don't grow well in harsh, dry soil, and humans don't heal well under the lash of self-criticism. There's a story about a Native American elder teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight between two wolves. One is black. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is white. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The elder simply replied, the one you feed. In depression, the black wolf often gets overfed while the white wolf starves. We ruminate on negative thoughts, replay painful memories, anticipate future disasters. We forget to notice small beauties, to savor pleasant moments, to appreciate acts of kindness. This doesn't mean forcing false positivity. That's just another form of resistance. It means gently, deliberately widening your awareness to include the full spectrum of your experience, not just the dark parts. Can you notice one beautiful thing today? The way light falls through leaves, perhaps, or the sound of rain on the roof. Can you savor one pleasant sensation? The warmth of a cup of tea in your hands, the softness of a blanket against your skin. Can you acknowledge one thing you're doing right, one small success? Even just getting out of bed can be a victory when depression is at its worst. These small shifts in attention don't erase depression, but they can create little pockets of relief within it. They remind you that your experience is bigger than your depression, that the world is more than your pain. They feed the white wolf, even if just a little. Another powerful shift involves moving from why me to what now. When depression strikes, it's natural to ask why this is happening, to search for causes and explanations. This isn't wrong, and understanding the roots of your depression can be helpful. But sometimes we get stuck in the why, endlessly analyzing without moving forward. What now is a different kind of question. It acknowledges where you are without needing to know exactly how you got there. It looks toward the future rather than the past. It focuses on action rather than analysis. Given that this is my reality right now, what's one small step I can take toward healing? What's one tiny way I can care for myself today? What's one small thing that might bring a moment of peace or joy? Sometimes the answer will be very simple. Drink some water, take a shower, step outside. Sometimes it will be about finding support. Call a friend, make an appointment with a therapist, join a support group. Sometimes it will be about self-expression, write in a journal, play music, make something with your hands. Sometimes it will be about connecting with something larger than yourself, help someone else, spend time in nature, engage in spiritual practice if that resonates with you. There's no single right answer, no perfect path out of depression. There's just the next small step, and then the next, and then the next. And over time, these steps can lead you to a different place than where you are now. Remember too that progress isn't linear. Healing from depression often involves setbacks, periods where you seem to be sliding backward after making progress. This can be deeply discouraging, but it's a normal part of the process. Just as physical healing sometimes involves inflammation and pain, emotional healing can involve difficult periods that are actually signs of growth, not failure. During these setbacks, self-compassion becomes even more important. Can you hold yourself with gentleness during the hard days? Can you remember that healing isn't about perfection, but about direction? Can you trust that even when it feels like you're moving backward, you're actually spiraling upward, revisiting old territory, but from a slightly higher vantage point each time? Trust is difficult when depression has eroded your faith in yourself and in life, but you don't need to generate trust out of nothing. You can borrow it for a while, borrow it from others who have walked this path before you and found their way through. Borrow it from the natural world, which demonstrates renewal and rebirth in every cycle of seasons. Borrow it from whatever source of wisdom speaks to your heart. And as you walk this path, remember that you are not alone. Millions of people have experienced depression and found their way to the other side. Some of the most creative, insightful, compassionate people in history have struggled with depression. Your suffering connects you to them, to all those who have known darkness and continued to move forward anyway. There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they're highlighted, celebrated, seen as adding beauty and character to the piece. What if we could approach our own brokenness this way? What if the places where we've been shattered and mended could become the most beautiful parts of us? This isn't about glorifying suffering for its own sake. It's about recognizing that our wounds can become sources of wisdom and compassion if we let them. The person who has known great pain often develops great capacity for empathy. The person who has faced their own shadows often develops greater acceptance of others' flaws. The person who has questioned everything in the depths of depression often emerges with deeper, more authentic values. None of this happens automatically, of course. It requires conscious work to transform suffering into wisdom. But the potential is there, within your depression, within your pain. The gold is mixed in with the darkness, waiting to be recognized. As you move through depression, you may find that your values shift. Things that once seemed vitally important, status, achievement, material success, may lose their luster. Things you once took for granted, health, connection, simple pleasures, may take on new significance. This reevaluation can be disorienting. It might mean making changes in your life that others don't understand. It might mean letting go of old goals and dreams to make space for new ones. It might mean disappointing people who have certain expectations of you. But this is your life, your journey. You are the one who must live it, who must find meaning in it. And sometimes depression can be a harsh but effective teacher, stripping away the inessential to reveal what truly matters to you. As you heal, you may find yourself drawn to new ways of being in the world. You may become more authentic, more willing to show your true self rather than wearing social masks. You may become more compassionate, more attuned to others' suffering, because you've faced your own. You may become more present, more able to inhabit each moment fully because you know how precious life is. These changes don't happen overnight. They unfold gradually, often in ways you only recognize in retrospect. You might think one day, I'm different now. I see things differently. I move through the world differently. I relate to myself and others differently. And while you wouldn't have chosen the path of depression, you might find that you value the wisdom it helped you gain. This transformation doesn't erase your suffering or make it worth it in some cosmic accounting. But it does mean that your pain hasn't been meaningless. It has shaped you, taught you, changed you in ways that matter. And here's something else depression may have taught you: the immense value of ordinary happiness. Not ecstasy, not perfection, just the quiet contentment of a day without the heavy clouds of depression. The simple pleasure of waking up and not dreading the hours ahead. The gentle joy of being able to feel interest, connection, hope. When you've been without these basic emotional states, you develop a profound appreciation for them. You don't take them for granted. You notice them, savor them, feel gratitude for them, in a way others might not understand. This appreciation is one of depression's unexpected gifts. It attunes you to subtle shades of experience that many people miss. It helps you recognize small joys that might otherwise pass unnoticed. It teaches you that happiness isn't about having a perfect life, but about being able to feel the full range of human emotions, including contentment, interest, connection, and hope. As you continue to heal, you'll likely have days where depression returns. This doesn't mean you've failed or fallen back to square one. It means you're human, living a human life with its natural ebbs and flows. The difference now is that you know more about working with depression. You have tools, insights, maybe medication, maybe a support system. You know that depression is not the truth about who you are, even when it feels that way. And perhaps most importantly, you know that depression is not the end of your story. It's a chapter, maybe several chapters, but not the whole book. There are other chapters waiting to be written, other experiences waiting to be lived. And you get to write those chapters, to live those experiences one day at a time. So here you are, in this moment, perhaps still struggling, perhaps beginning to see glimmers of light, perhaps somewhere in between. Wherever you are is okay. It's where you're starting from, not where you're destined to remain. Can you hold yourself with gentleness right now? Can you acknowledge your pain without being consumed by it? Can you take one small step toward what might bring healing? Remember, the darkness teaches us to appreciate the light. The silence teaches us to value music. The loneliness teaches us the preciousness of connection. And depression, terrible as it is, can teach us how to live with greater awareness, greater compassion, greater wisdom. You didn't choose this teacher. You wouldn't wish it on anyone. But since it's here, can you learn what it has to teach? Can you use this suffering as compost, transforming it slowly into something that nourishes new growth? This isn't easy work. It's some of the hardest work a human can do. But it matters. Your healing matters. Your life matters. The unique gifts you bring to this world matter. And so, with great compassion for your suffering, with deep respect for your courage in facing each day, I invite you to take the next small step on your path, not because you should, not because you have to, but because movement, however tiny, is the way forward. Because even in darkness, growth is possible. Because you are worth the effort it takes to heal. The world needs what only you can give. Not a perfect you, not an always happy you, but the real you, with all your depth, all your complexity, all your hard-won wisdom. The you that's being forged in this fire of depression, emerging stronger, more compassionate, more authentic. That emergence doesn't happen all at once. It happens breath by breath, step by step, moment by moment. It happens as you learn to hold your suffering with compassion, rather than resistance. It happens as you begin to question the stories depression tells you about who you are and what your life means. It happens as you reach out for connection, instead of isolating in shame. It happens as you take small actions that affirm life, even when you can't feel joy in it. And one day, perhaps when you least expect it, you'll realize that something has shifted. The darkness hasn't disappeared completely. It may never disappear completely, but it no longer defines your existence. You can feel other things alongside it: curiosity, connection, creativity, compassion, even moments of joy. When this happens, it may feel like a miracle. And in a way it is. The transformation from the depths of depression to a life of meaning and moments of joy is as remarkable as a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis or a lotus blooming from mud. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the possibility of renewal that exists within each of us. This renewal doesn't erase the reality of your suffering or make it somehow worth it. Nothing can do that. But it does mean that your suffering hasn't defined the entirety of who you are or what your life will be. It means that even in the darkest night, dawn is possible. And so, with deep respect for your journey, with profound compassion for your pain, I invite you to keep moving forward, one small step at a time. Not because it's easy, but because you are worth the effort. Not because healing happens quickly, but because each step matters. Not because you'll never feel depression again, but because you're learning to relate to it in ways that allow you to live with greater freedom, greater authenticity, greater peace. This is the alchemy of healing, not turning lead into gold in a literal sense, but transforming suffering into wisdom, isolation into connection, despair into meaning. It's the work of a lifetime, and it begins anew each day, each moment. May you be gentle with yourself as you walk this path. May you find the support you need along the way. May you discover, even in darkness, seeds of light waiting to grow. The journey continues, breath by breath, step by step, and you are not alone on this path. Millions walk it alongside you, each in their own way, each learning, each struggling, each finding moments of peace amid the pain, each discovering, day by day, that even with depression, a life of meaning, connection, and moments of joy is possible. This possibility exists for you too, not because I say so, but because it's the truth of human experience. Again and again, people have walked through the fire of depression and emerged changed but intact, wounded but wiser, scarred but softer-hearted. You are no different. The same resilience, the same capacity for renewal exists within you, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be lived. So take the next small step, whatever that means for you today. Drink some water, feel the sun on your face, reach out to someone who cares, create something, however simple, move your body, however gently, breathe consciously, feeling the life in your lungs. Notice one beautiful thing in the world around you. These aren't magical cures, they're ways of affirming life, even in the midst of pain. They're ways of staying connected to the world when depression urges withdrawal. They're ways of remembering that you are more than your suffering, that your experience is larger than depression, that your story is still being written. And as you take these small steps, day after day, something begins to shift, not all at once, but gradually, like dawn spreading slowly across the sky. The darkness doesn't disappear completely, shadows remain, but it no longer engulfs everything. There is room for other experiences, other emotions, other possibilities. This is healing, not a return to some idealized normal, but the emergence of a new way of being that includes your wounds but isn't defined by them. A way of being that's often deeper, more authentic, more compassionate because of what you've endured. May you discover this healing, this transformation, in your own time, in your own way. May you find meaning even in suffering, connection even in loneliness, possibility even in despair. May you know even on the darkest days that dawn is possible, that renewal is possible, that a life of depth and moments of joy is possible for you. The path continues, breath by breath, step by step, and somewhere along the way, you may discover that the very pain that once seemed like your greatest curse has become, in some mysterious alchemy, a source of your greatest gifts to the world. This is the paradox of healing from depression. What breaks us can also be what opens us to greater wisdom, greater compassion, greater authenticity. Not because suffering is good, it isn't, but because the human spirit has this remarkable capacity to grow through adversity, to find meaning even in pain, to transform darkness into a different kind of light. May you discover this transformation in your own life, in your own time. May you find even in the midst of depression, small seeds of hope, small moments of peace, small reasons to continue moving forward. And may these seeds grow, day by day, breath by breath, into a life that feels worth living, not perfect, not pain-free, but real and meaningful, and occasionally beautiful. The journey continues, and you are not alone.